The celebration of the 30th anniversary of my historic spaceflight continues back here on Earth with this podcast series, Sharing Space with Dr. Roberta Bondar. Now, this is an opportunity for you to join me while I explore life, creativity, flexibility, and change with my guests, some of the most famous and globally well-respected Canadians. In each of these podcasts, we will hear a special guest express personal views about the present and the future. And if you have a deep passion for exploration and inquiry, whether it's through the arts, sciences, or athletics, for example, the storytelling in this series is for those who wander and those who wonder. Join me now to explore how some of the most notable Canadians exercise their creativity and curiosity in a wide array of fields. Unlike those of the night sky, these stars are within reach. So let's tap into their energy as they enlighten us. My promise is not to speak of snowbirds, or to interview her for that matter. She would rather seek birdies and play golf with a duffer like me. I guess that's like getting one's teeth drilled by a dentist. Even though I hit a tree the last time we played together and it was within chipping distance of the flag. Of note, she has managed a hole-in-one and has a unique and very speedy golf cart. Now, in this chat, we will see where age will take us, or aging. To recap for those who have been on some isolated island for the past 4 decades, her singing voice is a global phenomenon, the voice that is unmistakably Anne Murray. An introduction to this legend is akin to describing what the Earth looks like from space. You can't do it justice. After all, saying that Anne is accomplished is too trite. Over her 40-year career as a singer, she has amassed a bio that is staggering, with her Companion of the Order of Canada, 24 Junos, 4 Grammys, induction into every Hall of Fame and Walk of Fame that hint at her depth and value to society, best awards and recognitions, humanitarian causes, and I need to stop myself. Best to visit the Anne Murray Centre in Spring Hill, Nova Scotia. What is Anne up to these days, and are there other birdies to sing with her? Let's begin. Welcome, Anne, to the podcast. I'm so glad you could join us. And where are you right now?
I'm on the Northumberland Strait. I'm in my happy place.
In your really happy place.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
And is your happy place something that you've had since childhood?
Well, I was born and spent every summer of my life on this shore. And I've been here since 1981. So my kids spent every summer here. So yes, I mean, this is my dream, to come back here and to live here. And it's been wonderful.
Do you find that the ocean air is really invigorating later on, like in the fall, or is the springtime better for you on the ocean, or does it matter to you?
Well, the thing is that I just find now that I'm here, I lived in Toronto for 40, well, more than 40, almost 45 years. And I was completely out of touch with nature that whole time. I was so busy, nose to the grindstone and all of that. And all of a sudden, I mean, just before I came on and talked to you, there are these 2 magnificent bald eagles that are my pets now, because they sit right out here I have a little point that goes out in front of my place, and they sit there and chatter away. It's just fascinating to watch them. And when they fly, I have skylights in my house. When they fly, the room goes completely dark as they fly over. They are so huge. And also I have deer here. There's so much, and it's so great to be back in touch with that. I have really missed it.
Well, when you're talking about bald eagles, there's something I've never seen bald eagles do, but I've seen pictures of it, and that's when they are courting each other. They actually have this fantastic aerial dance where they grab each other's talons and they kind of spin around. They're magnificent, as you say, magnificent creatures.
Well, I don't think I've seen that, but I do know that they've had nests here for the last 3 years, and there are 2 of them. And I presume that they're a couple, but I don't know.
And in my high school, we had a motto called it was with the Sir James Dunn Eagles, right? And so they always come. They're always thinking about what to call the girls' basketball team, and so they decided to call them the Eaglets. And I'm going like, okay, the guys get to be Eagles and the girls get to be Eaglets. I mean, you could hardly even say it.
Yeah,
Eaglets.
exactly. You can't.
But
I
I,
know. I know.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And so, have you found that you're going outside more, or doing any hiking, or?
well, see, I have scoliosis pretty badly, and I have also bad knees. This happens as you get older, but so I can't hike anymore. I can't play tennis anymore. The one thing I can do is I can still play golf, and I work very hard at keeping the quads strong so that I can still play golf. I managed to do that as long as I'm on a cart. I can't walk for long periods of time, but apart from that, I swim every other day. I'm on the bicycle. I'm really busy.
Well, I think playing golf, regardless if you're walking or in a car, it does take time. But I've been quite impressed since I took up golf. And mind you, you and I played a couple of times, and I know I hit a tree once in a while, but and I am trying to improve. But I've always found that golf courses, especially down in the southwestern United States, where I played, I like playing down there because they're the desert courses. But it's being in touch with, again, with the environment. I know a lot of people don't think about golf courses and be environmentally friendly. And I have a book on Audubon courses. And I actually, on a website, I look at a bird cam on an Audubon golf course in the Carolinas. And it's quite fascinating. So I always like hearing the birds and seeing, and so much so I get distracted from my golf. So I just find if you're from the city like Toronto, it's really hard unless you're on a big piece of property out in the east or the west to really get in touch with the environment in that kind of way. And I find playing golf, if I just sit back and relax and just enjoy the outdoors.
I have a friend who's a nun, who's a sister, and she said that's her church. She's got a great golf game. She plays a really great golf game. And she said when she's playing golf, that the golf course is her kind of like her church. And so I thought, that's a good point. But I have friends who are birders, and I golf with them, and they're constantly not paying attention to their golf at all. But and funny you should bring that up, because on for about 2 weeks we were hearing a bird on the golf course, and nobody could figure out what it was. And finally someone looked it up, or I don't know how they found out, but it was the northern bobwhite, a quail that is not indigenous to this part of the world, but somehow got here. And I had it one day on my tennis court too, and the sound. And I found out that the sound that they were making, because I could imitate it perfectly. So when we were on the golf course, I would imitate the sound. And
Really?
we had a great conversation going on. Oh, I don't know what it was about, but anyway. But then I found out that particular call, or whatever you want to call that, happens when the bird is either lost or looking for a mate. So I thought I better shut up from then on.
Only Anne Murray would be able to copy verbatim, or maybe not verbatim, but note for note, a white, what's a northern white a bob white?
Bobwhite, yeah, quail.
Yeah. I mean, imagine Anne Murray copying their sound. I mean,
Yes.
there's a whole new future for you, Anne.
Well, I had to whistle. I wasn't singing it because you had to whistle it, but I think I did a pretty good job. So my golf friends thought so too. So
I do think there's a market here. I think this is, I think you're missing a golden opportunity. Bird songs by Anne Murray, or bird sounds by Anne Murray,
yeah,
or, I mean, wow, extraordinary experience. Wow. I'm going to have to look for a bobwhite. I've read about them and I've seen their pictures, but I've never seen one out in the wild ever.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful bird. I mean, we have all kinds of birds here. Of course, seagulls go without saying, and blue herons, and we have cormorants. I'm not so keen on cormorants. They're dirty birds, but we have lots of them.
Do you ever get puffins down that far?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have puffins as well. But again, these are all things that I didn't ever pay much attention to. But now that I'm here, I see and hear all of this stuff. It's being mindful of what's going on around you.
And at one point when we were chatting, you're mentioning about it's like Prince Charles, right? He was way ahead of his time in terms of environment stuff. People always used to think he was a bit odd and crazy, and now his son Prince William, who doesn't appear to be odd or crazy, is saying, look, my dad wasn't odd or crazy, but he was just ahead of the curve when the environment movement came. And I understand that you were also doing stuff for the environment really early on. It wasn't just coming back to Nova Scotia, but you've been doing this for a long, long time.
Yes, I moved to Thornhill, just outside of Toronto. I can't remember, it would be the late 70s. And in the early 80s, I thought it would be a good idea if we got rid of the plastic and we took net bags to the Dominion store. And so I had, at that time, had a nanny, and she would take net bags. She was Irish, so that wasn't unusual for her. And so she would take them, and the cashiers would give her a tough time.
Really?
And they said, no, we're not doing that. We're not allowing that. And so finally, I had to go and talk to the manager and say, you know what, you've got to let her do this because it's the right thing to do. And that was a long time ago. That was in the 80s.
I get asked a lot, like, what one thing would you suggest to people to do that they can do with the environment? I know you were talking about the net bags. Is there anything else that you feel is important that you do that you want to pass along, a tip?
Well, I do whatever I can. I mean, I'm very careful about recycle. I'm very careful about making sure the compost goes in the compost. And this, I have friends who just throw everything in one bag. And on the one hand, somebody says that if you do that, it doesn't matter anyway, because it's all going to landfill. I don't know, but I'm hoping it isn't. And I do what I have to do. But when I lived in Toronto, I had a huge footprint. I had an indoor pool, and I had a very large house. And, you know, people could say, well, sure, that's no example. So what was I going to do? I was going to move into a little tiny bungalow or whatever to raise a couple of kids. So at times I kind of felt like I couldn't really say very much because of that footprint, but that has improved immensely.
Yeah, I think a lot of places now are trying to get much more environmentally friendly. I mean, there's no question we all need some place to live. We need some place that reflects the kind of workspace we need or the living space we need.
Right.
And even to have the windows now that are much better thermally sealed, especially in Canada, like in the winter time, it's always good to have less heat go out the window.
Right.
And I remember visiting when I was doing a lot of photography out west, Pacific Rim National Park, and on the beach, it wasn't unusual to find beads of plastic, which would be blowing in the wind from these container ships that would just bring plastic in to be used in manufacturing of plastic products. And it just almost wanted to make me cry to see something that we would think would be a pristine area, especially in a national park, by this huge ocean, getting all this stuff on the beach. I mean, it's
well, and you know what? Just think, if you think, now you may not have played golf for a while, but if you go to a pro shop anywhere, every single outfit that is worn is made out of plastic. Every single one of them. I won't wear them, And they talk about them breathing. They don't breathe. They're hot as can be. And the ocean is going to be filled with that stuff, or the landfill. And it's all plastic. And I don't get it.
Well, let's talk a bit about we can talk a lot about golf. I mean, I'm cool with that. But picking up a few tips from the pro here would be a good idea. I just wanted to chat with you because I was injured in the space program, and I find with my swing, the swing that I have, that I'm really restricted in how I can swing through a golf ball. Like I can't turn my chin to get over my arm to put over the golf ball.
Oh, I know.
And so the arthritis from that injury has really wreaked havoc with my body. And someone says, oh, that's just aging. Well, it's aging on top of injuries. And I guess when we get to our stage in life, we kind of think, well, what is it that I still want to do? And what do you feel about either about golf and aging, or just how you view what you're able to do now? Don't have to compare it to 40 years ago, but
No. Well,
don't do that. Don't do that.
No, well, like you, because of the scoliosis and what's going on with the turning of the spine and everything, for me, I can't get the shoulder underneath my chin like I'm supposed to. I can't get around enough I just hit the ball about 30 yards or maybe even more, less. I mean, I don't hit it nearly as far as I used to, but so be it. You're still out there. You're still, with people, you're interacting, you're trying to enjoy the game, even though you can't play like you used to. I always say, as all golfers say who aren't doing as well as they used to, they say, well, it's nice to be out here.
Yeah. A friend of our family's wanted me to pick up golf when I was like in my 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s kind of thing. I had to wait till I think it was my late 60s, I decided to pick up a golf club. But he passed away at age, I think he was about 87 or 88. And he had been going out to golf courses, and he had a bone marrow cancer. And I'd go and see him in the Sioux, and he always wanted to get up and give me a golf lesson. And so he had his oxygen on, and I remember the week before he died, he stood up there and he was trying to give me a lesson on pitching. I mean, you gotta love this guy. And he's standing by the bed with his oxygen on, and I'm looking at him thinking, I better take some lessons, because I would not want him to think, even when he's gone, that I would not have paid enough attention to his last lesson.
Yeah.
So we can play, I guess you play golf long.
You can play for a long time. You just have to settle for less. That's all. And when you can come to grips with that, which I have found very difficult to do, what I did when I couldn't come to grips with singing as well as I used to, I just quit and decided to have a life. But with this, I'm not going to quit until I have to, because I enjoy it so much.
Do you have your own cart?
Yeah, actually, this is the 22nd year that I've had it. It kind of looks like a little Cadillac. And my record company asked me what I wanted, because I guess it was my 30th year with the record company. And first thing I thought of was a golf cart, because it's something I would never buy for myself. And so they bought it, and I've had it ever since, and it's been great.
Does it go fast?
It goes very fast because it has no limiter on it. All of the ones you see on the golf course, they have limiters, because you can only go so fast on them. But this one has no limiter. So, but the only time I go really fast is from my house to the golf course, because I'm on the highway for 90 seconds. So I have to hightail it so that I don't get picked up. I have never been picked up. I think that the RCMP have better things to do than chase an old woman on a golf cart.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, who's going to give Anne Murray a ticket for 90 seconds on the road, really?
Yeah, it's so funny, because the last passport I got, I said to somebody, you know what? I just got a new passport and they put a picture of my mother on it because it looks so much like her.
Well, we're lucky we have good genes then.
You're absolutely right.
Your background before you went into this wonderful career that you had was in physical education, right? It was in fitness.
Yes. I grew up with 5 brothers, all of whom played baseball and hockey and everything else, and soccer and all of that. And I couldn't play any of them, but I used to get in there and give it a go with them. And they included me when they were just out in the field, not in the organized stuff. And so I was always interested. Plus, my father was very fit. When he had time, he didn't have much time because he was a physician and he did house calls. He had office hours. He worked 18 hours a day. But he was a great example of someone who stayed fit. So I saw that all of my life. So I've continued to do it. And as someone said to me, an old friend said to me, there's no off season.
That's true.
You don't ever stop. You just keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's I know for myself in the space program, one had to be fit. I mean, you weren't going to fly unless you were fit, and you wanted to be fit because you didn't want to die. I mean,
hey, there's incentive for you.
Yeah, real incentive. And so but the strange thing was when I was going through the program, there wasn't like a standard thing we did. I mean, they just said, oh, just you have to pass the physical. Oh, you have to be able to run 100 yards with the full suit on. Oh, you have to do this or you have to do that. And I was the only woman in the crew, and I found myself getting a little bit nuts sometimes because it didn't work out. I didn't do this. I was scared that I was traveling to Europe and I wasn't going to be able to keep my fitness up, and I wasn't going to be able to fly, or something was going to happen. And I had to really settle myself down and chat with my mother about this because she was such a great athlete when she was growing up. And she really counseled me and said, look, she said, I read a story where some young man was trying to keep fit when he was on these trips, and he was jogging down one of the major highways in England and suddenly realized that he could have been killed trying to stay fit. So I think there's a lesson there not to overdo it. And what do you think about as we get older?
Well, I think you have to keep moving, and that's why I do it. I mean, I was told a couple of years ago that I have absolutely no cartilage left between my kneecap and the bones, so everything's bone on bone. So I have to get on the bike every day. I have to get on the stationary bike or get into the pool on a noodle and pedal in the pool, so I just do it because I don't know what happens if you stop doing that.
So when you talk about your swimming, do you get into the ocean? I mean, I don't get into the ocean anymore, mainly because I wear orthotics in my shoes after all my injuries. So I don't walk without them. So I don't go into the ocean at all. But do you?
Yes, I do. Normally by about the 3rd week in July, it's warm enough here in the Northumberland Straits, not open ocean. So the tides come and go and the sun beats down on the sandbars here, and then the water comes in and it warms up. So I usually can swim from the last week in July, or will swim from the last week in July until the end of August. And it's beautiful.
What happens to us when we're kids? Like I remember going into Lake Superior, it's a cold lake, and we just could never get out of it, and we'd be shivering and our lips would be blue. And then as an adult, I'm going, I don't think so.
No, you don't.
No, I don't want to. No, I mean no. I sometimes I look at some of the crazy things. Like when we downsized my mom's house, I actually brought her to Toronto when she had a few strokes. I went through the house and I cleared it right to the walls. I'd never seen the house looking like that because they built it in 1941. I was born, as you know, in 45. We were born in 45, along with Helen Mirren, I might add.
Oh, yes.
So that's another role model. And I remember I pulled all the things that had to do with my stuff in high school and early university that had to do with fencing and basketball and archery and all of that. So I brought all those old things, and I have them in my fitness room. And I look at them, and some days I'm discouraged about, I don't feel like about the energy. And I look at this stuff, and I get inspired by not just the energy I had when I was younger, but the idea of the reason why I wanted to do all these things, or coordination, or eye hand, or whatever it was doing, and how it improved my attitude towards subjects in school. So I thought, this is a good thing to have in my fitness room. I just have to get past the wine cupboard and get into the fitness room.
Well, you know what? There's nothing like a workout first thing in the morning to cheer you up and to get you through the rest of the day, because sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. I mean, that was the same as when I was performing. There were nights I just didn't want to do it, but it's your job, so you do it. But keeping fit, when I was on the road, we always stayed in hotels where there was a pool. And so I was able to get up first thing in the morning and get in the pool, whether I wanted to or not. But I did. All those years I was on the road, I was in the pool.
I think about the years to come. Like every year is like probably like 5 or 10 years that I had when I was younger. But when I think of the age I'll be at now, there's nothing wrong with being 85, but the sound of it right now does not appeal to me as strongly as if I was 65 and said I was going to be 75. Do you have, what is your sense of the years that are ahead of you and what you might want to be accomplishing in that time?
I just try to stay in the present and try and take care of what is happening now. And I think thinking about that too much is depressing. It would depress me, I think, to dwell on that kind of thing. So I just kind of enjoy the day, enjoy making chili, not.
I can't eat onions or peppers of any description. I can't eat like beans unless they're green or yellow beans. So I'm pathetic when it comes to minestrones or chilies. I can't eat peppers. I had somebody gave me the other night a kebab, and I said, please, easy on the spices, easy. I could not even swallow. We're watching Mamma Mia on television, right? That with Meryl Streep, and I'm watching this, and I wanted to sing along, and I took a bite of this kebab, and I thought I was going to die. The pepper on it, I just got reverse peristalsis. It started coming back up, and I was totally embarrassed. I was running off to the washroom, and I couldn't get out of the washroom with this hot food. I thought, I gotta die watching Mamma Mia eating a kebab.
I mean, I developed this sensitivity to gluten late in life. Not until about 6 or 7. Well, maybe it was a little longer. But I just can't do it at all. It makes me very sick. So
do you have gluten-free products, or do you just?
You can find gluten-free products everywhere. More and more people. Well, there are some people who do it just because it sounds like the right thing to do, but I definitely have a sensitivity, and my father was celiac, so I don't think it runs in families, but I don't know.
Have you experimented with things that you like or don't like?
I eat mostly fish. I don't eat a lot of red meat. From time to time I do, but I eat a lot of veggies. I just find it much easier on my system.
And when you talk about fish, do you find that being back in the East Coast, it's actually easier to get fish? Yeah,
it is easier here because there are guys who come out on the street and sell fish from the back of their truck. And if you're lucky enough to catch them on the days that they show up, you can fill your freezer. It's great.
Well, as you say, it's certainly a good advertisement for the East Coast. You have fresh air, and you have good food. You have obviously good friends and family there. I mean, it sounds like you're leading a very healthy lifestyle.
Yes, I think I am. And I'm happy to be here. And I loved Ontario, but I just, living in the city, I just never felt right to me. Yeah, so I'm at home here. So I'm in the right place, just so you know.
Yeah, well, I got that. I think it's great. Hey, Anne, thank you so much.
My
Ah,
pleasure. All
okie
right.
dokie. Well, you take
Well,
care and we'll be in
good luck.
touch.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
The privilege to engage with other minds and experiences continues. I would like to thank Anne Murray for sharing her unique story with us today. Come back again next week for the next Sharing Space with Dr. Roberta Bondar podcast, when my guest will be singer-songwriter Susan Eglukak. Thanks for joining me.